If you are shopping in the 300 to 400cc single-cylinder motorcycle space, there is plenty of action at the moment. Triumph has dropped the beautiful Speed 400. Apache has come back with a big surprise package in the form of the RTR 310. And now, the king of the segment returns in an all-new avatar. Say hello to the 2024 KTM 390 Duke.
All-new avatar indeed. New trellis frame with a new aluminium subframe, an all-new 399cc engine that is 26cc up on displacement over the outgoing motorcycle and subsequently up on power and torque too. And there is the all-new bodywork which looks a lot broader around the tank area and the front end. And there's an all-new metal tank which is up on capacity by 1.5 litres to a total of 15 litres. The handguards are gone, and the long tank shrouds and the new floating daytime running lights will instantly differentiate the 390 Duke from its lesser siblings. There is a new slimmer design for the wheels, and the front disc is mounted on the spokes instead of the hub for a leaner design.
And that reduces the unsprung mass, allows the suspension to do its thing better, do its duties much better. What that has also done is that the turn-ins, the direction changes are amazingly sharp. This is now one of the sharpest handling 390 Dukes ever. To that effect, you also have a shorter wheelbase, and that makes it very nimble. Whether you're riding on the track like this or even out on the road, your favorite mountain roads, you are absolutely going to enjoy how nimble this motorcycle feels. It's absolutely a newfound recipe of sorts, and I quite like it.
The front disc looks larger, but the size is unchanged, while the rear is up by 10mm, and these brakes continue to offer excellent bite as before. Whether you're commuting, attacking the racetrack, or simply stunting on the machine, the brakes will not disappoint.
The export model of the 390 Duke gets the Michelin Power 5 tires. However, we get the Metzeler M5s. Now, we've got the M5s previously as well on the Duke, but this one has a slightly different compound is what KTM India tells us. What exactly has changed, they haven't told us, but riding on the track, I am quite in love with these tires. Now, I've got a few mixed responses from the other riders, from the other journalists as well, where it does feel a bit twitchy, these tires, which I agree. At extreme leans or maybe doing those quick direction changes, it does tend to squirm a bit, especially the rear tire. But it's not something that is unnerving. It's not something that is going to sort of make you wary of corners. It is something that you know is there, but it's very measured. It is very predictable in that sense. So once you really start pushing the motorcycle hard around these bends, that is something that you will account for eventually, because it is not that big a deal. And once you do account for all of that, like I said, with the new nimbler handling package that this motorcycle has, you are going to have a blast riding this bike, whether it's a track or your favorite mountain road.
The suspension specs are largely similar to the outgoing model, but now you get superior hardware.
Check that out, adjustable suspension. They haven't faltered on that bit at all for the India spec model. There is no separate variant with the adjustable suspension. This is what you get out of the box, and I think that is big news. Adjustable suspension lets you set up the suspension to your specific needs, whether you're riding on the track, whether you're just commuting to work, taking it to your favorite mountain roads. You can set up the suspension on your own. It is separate functions, so you get 5 clicks compression adjustment on the left leg, you get 5 clicks of rebound adjustment on the right leg. Similarly, for the rear suspension, you again get 5 clicks of rebound adjustment and 10 levels of preload adjustment as well. So you can set up the suspension to your liking, to your specific needs, and we all know the advantages of an adjustable setup like this. I'm very glad that they've done this for the India spec model as well.
Setting up the suspension will need basic training, but you won't need any fancy tools to set it up. The preload adjustment for the rear needs the C-spanner though.
Now this is one bit that I was really worried about, the offset rear suspension. I have used that extensively on the Ninja 650 and was never a fan of it. The motorcycle always spoke 2 different languages when it came to left turns versus the right turns. So this had me worried. But here on the Bajaj track, there are quite a few tight switchbacks. You are changing directions from left to right very quickly. And that suspension actually is doing its thing very well. There is absolutely no problem. It is not speaking 2 different languages. The composure is really good. The overall balance that it offers, especially while going from one quick left onto the next right, I think I'm simply amazed by the kind of setup that they've managed, the kind of tuning that they've got out of the box for the suspension. Again, like I told you, the suspension is completely adjustable, so if you don't like the setup that they're providing outside of the box, you can always tune it up to your specific liking, but this is not a worry at all. Now, why was this done? One, to accommodate a larger airbox to go with the new, more stringent emission norms. Two is to bring down the seat height. With the previous suspension mounting, the seat height always took a toll. The seat was pretty tall, and that had its adverse effects more on the Adventure compared to the Duke. The Adventure just became a little too tall. So now with this new setup, the next Adventure that will come out, that should hopefully be here next year, I think, will have a shorter or a lower seat height. Now for the Duke, the seat height is at 800 millimeters. The export model has 820 millimeters. If you think this is too short for you, you can always do a few modifications, bring it up to the export spec, and then get it up to 820 millimeters if you so need. Let me quickly show you the riding posture here. I think the 800 mil seat height is really good. For my height of 5 feet 8, I can get both my feet comfortably and confidently flat on the ground. So I quite like the seating posture that they've got, but if you need something taller, that should be possible as well. But like I said, the advantages of this suspension, of this new geometry, is going to pay its dividends more on the Adventure than the Duke.
The new geometry also helped bump up the ground clearance significantly. The result is on the track you get better cornering clearance, while on the road you get a better clearance over potholes and poor road conditions. The suspension feels more supple than before, and that firm edge is ironed out quite nicely. I hope the lighter wheels withstand the bad road conditions though. And if the 390 Adventure is anything to go by, I think we should be fine. The headlights and the TFT screen have improved weather protection now and don't fog up like their predecessors.
For an instrumentation on a 2024 motorcycle, the bezels could have been a little slimmer, but I'm nitpicking. Apart from that, the new display is simply easy to read. It is feature rich, it is rich on the graphics, it is very easy to navigate through. Changing riding modes, etc. is absolutely simple. So I really like the new TFT. It could have been a little bigger maybe. I think that is what a lot of people are saying after the launch of the motorcycle. But I'm quite okay with the size of this display. I'm quite okay with the brightness. I'm quite okay with the size of the fonts, etc. It is pretty easy to read. The track layout is what I really like the most, but even in sport, it I think looks quite nice. So overall, pretty impressed with this display. It will also pair with your headset. It can also pair with a corded headset. You can even make a choice whether it's a Bluetooth headset or a corded headset, etc. So all those connectivity options are right there. It's not going to control your GoPro like some of the newer motorcycles like the RTR 310 for example in this particular segment. But yeah, apart from that, the overall connectivity options are all there, and I think this is a good display to have. This is now a 400. So the displacement has gone up, the power has gone up, the torque has gone up. Now part of it is to make it compliant with the more stringent emission norms. Part of it is to bring it up to speed with the current times. It is perfectly poised for 2024 and up. But what is important is that the character of the engine has changed. You remember that on-the-boil character of the previous KTM engines? That has gone, and it's actually good news because now you can happily trot around town at 40 kilometers an hour in 4th or 5th gear and there'll still be no knocking from the engine. You don't really have to keep the engine on the boil all the time or in lower gears, etc, etc. It just feels a lot more tractable in that sense. And out on the track, when you're really going for it, there is that big edge in performance that you get over the outgoing 390. The top end feels better, the acceleration feels better, the mid-range feels a lot stronger. 80% of the power and torque is now available from as low as 5000 RPM. That's about 1000 RPM earlier than the outgoing 390 engine. So compared to that, the mid-range is something that you're really going to love. It is on-tap performance, it's very punchy. The engine has also become a lot more refined than before. That constant buzzy nature of the KTM engine is gone. It just feels so refined, perfect for 2024, and at the same time you have that power. So in terms of the rawness, it is somewhere where the first generation of the 390 was, but in terms of the refinement is right up there in 2024. So overall as a package, that engine is something that really delivers. I can't wait to see what they do with the same engine in the RC390. I can't wait to see what they do with this engine in the new Adventure. But here in the Duke, it's just left me impressed. KTM has also worked on improving the cooling efficiency of the engine. There is a curved radiator, there are 2 fans, and the overall cooling efficiency, especially while riding in the city environment, is far better than before. It also doesn't throw up a lot of heat on your knees, on your legs, so the overall channeling of the air or the hot air is also quite nicely done.
The throttle response of the new engine is still very crisp. While the tractability is quite good, the engine comes into its wild zone only past the 5000 RPM mark. The motor gets buzzy after 8000 RPM, but unlike before, you won't have to keep the engine in high revs all the time, allowing you to enjoy the newfound refinement of this engine a lot more. The acceleration is brisk, and then you have the riding modes too.
The new 390 Duke also gets multiple ride modes. You have rain, which will restrict the overall power and torque. It will reduce it. They have not given us the exact figure. It will also dull down the overall throttle response, and it will make the ABS and the traction control more intrusive. Then you have the street, which will give you full power, full traction control, full ABS. However, the intrusion from the ABS and traction control is going to be lesser. And then finally, you have the track mode. So once you long press, you're also going to now engage track mode, and with track mode you also get launch control. Now here the ABS is going to be at its minimum intervention. In fact, I've put it on the supermoto mode, which means I do not have ABS on the rear wheel. I only get anti-lock brakes on the front. You also get traction control, that is on right now. I'm going to turn that off because it is a lot of fun without the traction control. This motorcycle just allows you to nicely slide into corners once you have the traction control off, and here on the Bajaj track it really makes a lot of difference. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to keep it pressed and close the throttle. Now traction control is off, and you also get launch control. So with launch control, it is also going to limit the wheelie that will happen on the motorcycle. If you were to launch it hard, it will not let the wheelie happen. Traction control is, like I said, at its minimum intervention. I'm on track mode, and now I'm going to show you what launch control looks like from the outside.
The launch control can only be used 3 times in a row before the engine and the gearbox needs to cool down completely for it to be available again. With launch control, KTM claims a 0 to 60 km/h time of 2.4 seconds, while standstill to 100 takes only 5.9 seconds, which is quick, and it feels quick too. Top speed is 155 km/h, and the best that we saw on the speedometer was 164 km/h. The quick shifter works quite well too, on the track and even at city speeds. The new Duke is a hoot to ride, just like its predecessors, but there's now a more refined edge to its mechanical performance, while the improved agility and power makes it a faster motorcycle in all respects.
You ride the second generation of the 390 Duke, it is simply amazing, and then you wonder, how can they make it better? And then you ride this and then you are like, wow, they actually ended up making it so much better, so much more agile, so much more nimble. That engine character is so much more better than before. So I think overall, it's so good that I just want to walk to a KTM dealership right now and just pick one of these up. That is how good it is. For a premium of about 13,000 rupees over the outgoing motorcycle, you're getting so much more. Like, just to put things into perspective, the RTR 310, just for the adjustable suspension, is going to charge you about 18,000 rupees. You're getting adjustable suspension, you're getting a quick shifter, you're getting the new age connectivity options, etc., and that new engine. And still the premium is just 13,000 rupees over the outgoing bike. How much more value for money can it get? Of course, when you put the Triumph Speed 400 into perspective, the value for money game may seem a little off because the Triumph has just hit it out of the park when it comes to the pricing. But then look at the equipment again. You're getting adjustable suspension, the TFT, quick shifter, etc. And then you're getting a way more punchier engine. You're getting that edgy styling. All new age styling elements are right there. That one is a retro. This one looks up to the times. So yes, there is still a strong case going for the 390 Duke, even when you compare it to the Speed 400, even if it's not an apples to apples comparison. So if I had to pick a new motorcycle in this 300 to 400 cc space right now, after riding the Speed 400, after riding the RTR 310, which I've called a surprise package of 2023, I think my money will go right here. That is how good this package is. The engine, the handling, the suspension, everything is just spot on the way a Duke should be. This is the Duke for the modern times.